Actually, my first style of training was through my grandfather. He was a boxer. Boxing runs in my family. Everybody on my mother's side were all fighters. So my training actually started when I was young, like about 8 years of age. My grandfather started teaching me a little bit of boxing, pretty much so I could stand up to my cousins because they were bigger than me and they used to pick on me. And so one day he started teaching me some basic boxing combinations. But my first experience in karate was, I was about 14 years of age, and actually I put my little brother in karate first because I couldn't afford to pay for all of us, so I put him in karate first, and I made him teach me. So my little brother was actually my first karate teacher. And then that was about 1967, 68, that era. And then as I got older, there was an ad in the newspaper. I was about 15 then, 16, and it said, karate instructors needed, no experience necessary. And I was like, what the heck is this? So I went and checked it out, and it was Ed Parker. So I started with Ed Parker when I was 16, and I've done it ever since. Well, in the early days when I started with Ed Parker, there was no safety equipment. First of all, everything was bare knuckle and barefoot, and all our sparring was done like that. It was a lot rougher then because karate wasn't for everybody. There's a saying that goes, people come in and ask about karate lessons. They would say, how long does it take for the average person to get a black belt? And we used to tell them the average person doesn't get a black belt, so it's not for everybody. But nowadays it's pretty much commercialized and everybody does it now. When I got into Kempo, I felt very natural with it because of my boxing experience. Kempo is a boxing-based system, but it teaches you to use all parts of your body, not just your hands. So a lot of the maneuvers, they relate to boxing, so I took to it real easy. The techniques represent different levels of learning. You start off with your basic fundamental techniques, which only have a couple of moves, and as you get better in the system, you learn more techniques as far as striking, kicking, foot maneuvers, things like that, and then they're compounded with the actual strikes themselves. So it's a growing process. So you start off as a yellow belt, then you go orange, purple, blue, green, brown, and eventually you get your black belt. But it's a learning process as you go through. Okay, now when we do our karate techniques, everything is based on an ideal situation. Okay, in other words, I'm standing in a position, he's gonna throw the kick, I'm gonna off angle, and everything is set up so that it works all the time. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna take the same move, the same footwork, okay, and we're gonna apply it to more of a boxing situation, okay, where I'm gonna have to draw him in, have him counter me, okay, and then I work my counter or defense off of his counter. Okay, for example, hands up, Charles. If I'm boxing him, what I want to do, I want to create his counter punch. So I'm going to throw my left hand first and then move back to see him counter my punch. Okay, so if I do it faster, it'll be pow, pow, just like this. Now what I want him to do, I want him to hit me with his right hand. This is basically what I want to do. So I'll throw the left, and then he throws the right, then I'll off angle, just like I did before in the other technique. But as I off angle, I move off the line of fire, okay, allowing me or exposing more of his target on his right side, okay. And as I do that, my counter punch will be here and here to the body and to the face. Okay, now as we did on the other technique, I off angled, okay. That would be moving my body to this angle. Now the reason for that would be when he throws his left hook, he's gonna miss me. Because if he throws his right hand one more time, and I hit, and he throws his left hand, I'm still in position for the left hook. If I off angle, it moves out of the way. See what I'm saying? So the footwork is more important than the actual punch combination because that's my evasion. This time we're gonna do what we call sticky hands. This is gonna incorporate all the exercises that we did plus a few little tricks and things like that that allowed me to strike. Okay, on this exercise, the reason why they call it sticky hands is because It's kind of like sparring, but your hands don't disengage. You're always staying on contact, hands on. One of the exercises is like this. Wherever my hands go, your hands follow. See? If my hand goes up, his hand stays down. Goes like this, his hands follows me. Or I go like this. See, his hands stay with me. See what I'm doing? A good way to do this is to close your eyes. Close your eyes, Charles. Now he can't see where I'm going. He can only feel which way I'm going, like this. Now he can't see where I'm going, he just feels me now. I can do whatever I want, basically. Okay, but so long as he has touch, he can sense me. Okay, now if I try to hit him in the face, he's gonna be able to redirect me, because if I try to hit, that's his defense. He maintains contact with me, and it keeps me from hitting him, okay, because he can feel the pressure coming in towards him. Well,
I started Kenpo Karate when I was 15, and I had a number of reasons. One of the main reasons was society was really changing. I was raised in Pasadena, and I noticed that because of the influence of drugs and so forth coming into our culture, that people were changing, that regular schoolyard fights were getting rougher, people were using weapons and so forth. So I basically sought out something that would give me an edge on what was going on in the streets. And it was my brother that first went down to Ed Parker's Kenpo Karate School in Pasadena, which was the first school in the United States on a commercial basis. And it was customary as the older brother would go down and check it out first. So a couple weeks later, after taking lessons, my brother said, all right, you should go in there. This is the place for you. When I walk in, the gentleman that signed me up was Ed Parker. And I remember it very well. I remember the school and how it smelled, and that it was a little world of its own. That's the first thing that hit me. And I was very impressed with the black belts because they were very tough, but at the same time, they had that type of honor of like knights of old. So that impressed me as a teenager. And I remember the first night, that night I put my gi on, and when I put the kimono top on, it felt like an old friend. I recognized it, so I knew I was in the right place. Yeah. The first thing that really struck me, that really impressed me, that struck me hard, was that when he taught, even though there was a group of us together, all right, is that it felt like he was teaching to you a private lesson, because he would speak in terms that really connected with you. And being a young teenager, you know, I was all over the place. And so my focus and concentration was brought to light through his teaching. He would say something like, I open your horse stance. Now the key word was your, and that impressed me. Okay, whereas in academic school, the school system, most teachers didn't take the time to think of you as an individual, especially back when I was a teenager, okay? That's what impressed me, and that along with the physical action, it was an academic study in its own. And because of the two put together, it helped me in my own schoolwork, and meaning that it gave me a new sense of direction. And so when I went back to regular school, okay, I focused better and did well because of my training. Spending time with Mr. Parker was spending time with a person that had a tremendous insight into not just the martial arts, but into life itself. Being a teenager back in the 60s, you know, most people didn't, especially teenage kids, weren't really curious that much about the inner workings of life and how things work.